Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 50th LIBER Annual Conference held this year virtually in Belgrade, Serbia. My name is Vanja Kovačev, and I will be your local host for the next 3 days. Each day we will have our main program broadcasted from a different Serbian library, and today it's our great pleasure to report from University Library Belgrade, the hosting library of this conference. University Library Belgrade is one of 3 frontline libraries built in Europe with the support of the Andrew Carnegie Foundation after the First World War. If you know what the other 2 frontline libraries are, send an email with the correct answer to liber2021quiz@ubsm.rs. And if you are fast enough to be the first one with the correct answer, you will get a special frontline library coffee mug delivered directly to you. So stay tuned for more LIBER 2021 quiz questions throughout this day. And as the opening session of the conference is about to start, I'm standing at the iconic main reading room of the University Library Belgrade, featured in so many Serbian movies and TV shows. A library reading room that hosted many historic events and important speeches in its almost 100 years history. And now it is hosting virtually this year the opening session of the LIBER 2021 Annual Conference. I will give the floor now to Mrs. Astrid Verheusen, the Executive Director of LIBER and the host of the opening session. Astrid, please do take it away.
Dear participants, speakers, guests, and co-host from Belgrade, good morning. Welcome, and nice to have so many of you here for the opening session of LIBER's annual conference. It's the 2nd online conference, but we are also celebrating our 50th anniversary today. My name is Astrid Verheusen, Executive Director of LIBER, and I'm proud to be your moderator for this opening session. Let's start with some housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded, and we shall share the recording and slides afterwards. If you face any technical issues, check your settings as well as your internet connections. No luck, try to rejoin by closing your tab and reusing the link provided. Thank you for your attention and enjoy today's session. So we have a short program for the opening session. Please stay tuned for the opening speech by Jeannette Frey, LIBER President, a video to celebrate LIBER's 50th anniversary, and a report from the Conference Program Committee by LIBER's Vice President, Julien Roche. But let's first give a very warm welcome to the Assistant Minister for Cultural Heritage and Digitization of the Ministry of Culture and Media of Serbia, Danijela. Vanusic.
Thank you, Astrid. Dear participants of LIBER Annual Conference, it is with great joy that I welcome you to Belgrade, Serbia, even in virtual format due to COVID-19. We are especially honored that 50th Conference of LIBER is taking place in Serbia, and especially sad that we cannot greet you all in person and show the best of Serbian hospitality. In this regard, we will try to make as much as possible online and hope to intrigue you and interest you in visiting Serbia as soon as traveling restrictions allow. Academic libraries gather around LIBER serve the information needs of scientific communities across Europe. These needs are now more related to data than to printed books and involve concept of open science, citizen science, open infrastructures, and open publishing and democratization of knowledge. These are all very specific concepts and very different to traditional librarianship of 20 or 30 years ago. I hope that this conference will show that academic libraries in Serbia are keeping the pace of development of academic libraries in other European countries. But in all our eagerness to support research and growing digital needs of academic communities, we need to remember that the basic for a real scientific breakthrough have always been and still is inspiration. That special moment in which creativity meets the knowledge and experience. When a spark that will change the world is born seemingly out of nothing, and this spark cannot come out of data alone and out of digital alone. We still need arts and culture and media and communications with others and meeting with others in real and virtual worlds. In this regard, my special appreciation goes to the host of this conference, University Library Belgrade, and many other regional and European academic libraries of similar history and contemporary disposition. University Library Belgrade has always been the place where science meets the arts and culture. In its collections comprise both open access journals and old and rare books dating back to the 13th and 14th century. This is the place where you can sit in a really historic reading room and have the scientific world of today at your fingertips. Only by fostering this merging of digital and physical worlds, inspiration and data, creativity and free access, crowdsourcing and scientific excellence, we can move forward in a world in which wisdom is often mistaken for mere data and knowledge is often mistaken for partial information. The ease of access we all share today oblige us all to an extra careful evaluation of what we really know. It is not so often that we can celebrate 50th anniversary of something that involves terms and concepts and stuff that is so modern and so novel as it is the case with academic librarianship. I wish you even faster pace of progress in the future. Just remember from time to time to look back and insert a bit of inspiration of art or a piece of culture here and there among the bits and bytes of data that are so needed, but so lonely if left by themselves. I wish you a very successful conference, and I hope that in the next 3 days, all of you will be at the forefront of academic librarianship and enjoy at least a bit of special flavor Belgrade and Serbia can offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Assistant Minister of Culture and Media, Danijela Vanusic, for your inspiration, I say, and insights, and for this kind welcome to Belgrade. Dear colleagues and friends from Libre, I'm Jeannette Frey, President of Libre, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this 15th LIBER Annual Conference Belgrade online, you from Libre, but also from all over the world. This annual conference will focus on libraries and open knowledge from vision to implementation, something that is very relevant also, as we could hear for Mrs. Assistant Minister of Culture and Media. Last year, Libre did its first online conference in a hurry, as everything had to be reorganized by the Libre office and the conference program committee at a very short notice before the beginning of the conference. Within a year, I think we all learned a lot about doing things entirely online. Our competences about online interactions progressed rapidly. We learned to use new tools, enabling us to cooperate and discuss, even if, of course, the online experience doesn't replace the real coffee breaks and the chats in the sun of beautiful Belgrade. This reminds us that we still live in trying times. Fortunately, most European research libraries are now open again, but still almost everywhere with some kind of restrictions due to the COVID situation. And speaking to you from Lausanne, Switzerland, our library is open since more than a year, but with only half of the users allowed inside, for example, due to these COVID constraints. For the Libre Foundation and the Libre Office, 2020 was a very special year, and everything had to be done online, of course. Libre staff in The Hague, for example, is still working in home office until today. Nonetheless, we achieved a lot this year, maybe more than ever, in order to help research libraries face the crisis and make the best out of it. Last year, we had a record audience throughout the world. This year, you are again more than 1,700 to be registered for this conference. That's what makes this conference great, your commitment. The LIBER Conference is made possible thanks to the commitment of many of you, active members of the conference program committee, of the Libre network, all of you who sent in abstracts for posters and papers for the conference, the members of the Libre working groups, the Libre board members, and of course the staff of the Libre office makes all this possible. Thanks to all of you who engaged so intensely to make this Belgrade online conference happen. This is LIBER's 50th annual conference, an occasion to celebrate and have a look back. On this photograph, you see the founding fathers of LIBER, from left to right, Friedrich Adolf Schmid-Künzemüller, Cornelis Redig, Jean-Pierre Clavel, Hermann Liebers, and Kenneth Humphreys at one of their first meetings. 50 years. Well, many things changed in half a century. LIBER was founded in 1971 as an association. My predecessor at BCU Lausanne, Jean-Pierre Clavel, was a founding member and the man behind the concept of LIBER. In those times, cooperation between libraries was in its infancy. Europe was recovering from the damages of the Second World War, and the 60s had been a period of exceptional growth, especially for universities and research libraries. Research boomed, and with this growth came higher prices for books and periodicals. Doesn't this sound familiar? So the excellent Esko Hackley writes in his History of LIBER that the acceleration of the cost of libraries' operation increased the cost of library services, taking into account the cost of loans and other forms of services. So libraries went into budget problems, especially after the first oil crisis. In parallel, library automation came in, and in the 60s, and with it, the standardization of cataloging. The implementation of these international standards required more international cooperation. So Esko Hackley writes that at some point, my predecessor explained to the senior officials of the Council of Europe why a new association was needed. The late Jean-Pierre Clavel pointed out that while the number of publications had multiplied and the scale of scientific documentation was now massive, it was nevertheless difficult to access this information. As a consequence, research libraries would have to organize themselves internationally. This strikes me as still being as valuable then as now. Clavel came up also with the name LIBER, for Ligue des Bibliothèques Européennes de Recherche. LIBER being, of course, the Latin for book, but also for free. A new library organization for a free Europe. This led to many discussions at the time, because then there were two blocks in Europe. The East, where cooperation in the field of information services was organized mainly by the intergovernmental basis, and Western Europe, where it was organized at the professional level. Now 50 years have passed, and Europe is fortunately more united than then. On the other side, the need of huge digital infrastructures brings up that massive national infrastructure are built. Technologically, we are all connected. Still, there are big issues about openness, be it in terms of copyright or general policies. Another basic idea of LIBER was to have a structure that would enable research library directors to meet often, for the discussion had to be dense around the modernization of European research libraries. In order to be efficient, it would have dynamic leaders ready to cooperate with young specialists, as Esko Hackley says. LIBER addressed this issue, and we have a very prominent leadership program in LIBER now. This kind of program could be set up smoothly because of the ease of travel, something that might disappear in the years to come due to climate change. Nowadays, we have tools to cooperate online virtually, but will that be sufficient in the future to allow us to have a close enough understanding of each other's context? For me, that's still an open question. In these 50 years, Libre addressed all the challenges with European research libraries and what they faced, and there were plenty. First, the creation of the internet and the libraries network, the very hard work on preparation of a new copyright legislation linked to the new ways of scholarly communication, the emergence of open access, of open science, of data science, the European Open Science Cloud, which leads us to the present theme of open knowledge. Challenges will not diminish in the years to come. Questions about how we cooperate in a free and open way will remain in the focus of LIBER. So it's a very good time to share with you during this Belgrade online conference the work done so far by the task force for a new LIBER strategy 2023-2027. I'm very happy to invite you to participate in our strategy cafe this afternoon at 4 p.m. Don't miss this occasion to make your voice heard in a new LIBER strategy. Here I would like to express a very special thanks to Esko Hakli for his excellent work in writing down the history of LIBER in his book, Innovation Through Cooperation. Yeah, can't show it on the screen, but I have it here. It's a very nice lecture to be done. It was published in 2011. Unfortunately, Esko couldn't participate in the video you will soon see, but on behalf of the LIBER board and office, I send him my best thoughts and as a historian, my greatest appreciation for the very important work he did for LIBER. Thank you, Esko, for all the time you spent on gathering the documentation on the years of LIBER as an association. I now ask Volkan from the Technics in Belgrade to launch the 50th anniversary LIBER video.
Dear LIBER colleagues, celebrating LIBER's 50th anniversary is a proud moment. The brainchild of a small group of librarians in post-war Europe who sought for a European voice in the future development of research libraries. Over these decades, many European minds have contributed to making LIBER what it is today. Each generation has faced issues to resolve and opportunities to seize. In my time, the most memorable event was the opening up of European borders from the late 1980s, and the pleasure of welcoming colleagues from research libraries in Central and Eastern Europe to LIBER and its work. The future will bring challenges and opportunities too. With its strengths of purpose drawn from research librarians in every part of Europe, LIBER will continue to thrive, assisting researchers, advancing society, and sustaining European values of intellectual freedom, openness, integrity, and tolerance. Warmest wishes for the future to LIBER and to you all.
LIBER started 50 years ago as a very small organization, a gentleman's club. It is great that LIBER has now become a real European organization with 450 library members. LIBER is full of initiatives committed to innovations that are of added value for our students, our researchers and our teachers. LIBER is based on cooperation. Cooperation between libraries, cooperation between librarians, independent of political, economic and legal problems between countries. I hope, and I must say I am convinced, that LIBER will maintain these principles in the next 50 years. I wish you all, dear colleagues, a very good conference.
Dear LIBER colleagues and friends, it is a great pleasure to attend LIBER opening ceremony this year and to meet you all. My name is Christina Hormiapotanen. I come from the National Library of Finland. I was the president of LIBER during 2014-2018 and represented LIBER at the high-level expert group of the Commission Open Science Policy Platform. My presidency was the time when open science was on the political agenda of the Commission. That's why LIBER strategy also focuses very strongly on open science and implementing open science activities at LIBER libraries. It has been impressive to follow how LIBER libraries and LIBER office have been able to implement open science activities. It is my great pleasure to warmly congratulate LIBER at the 50-year anniversary. We have 50 years behind us and many, many good and interesting years to follow. Thank you.
My name is Paul Harris, and I'm Pro-Vice Provost here in University College London. As Pro-Vice Provost, I'm in charge of the University Library and the UCL Office for Open Science and Scholarship. Between 2010 and 2014, I was honoured to be president of LIBER, and with the LIBER board, we worked to restructure the organisation. We had an executive director who helped us with the day-to-day tasks of doing this. We wanted to make LIBER more appealing, more immediate, and more timely in the way it reacted to supporting LIBER members across the continent of Europe. Now, in 2021, we're celebrating our 50th Annual General Conference, and LIBER has certainly risen to the task. It is an organization that everybody wants to talk to when in Europe we want to know about the role of libraries and the importance of information technology in supporting our researchers and our students as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm delighted to be part of the LIBER Annual General Conference this year, celebrating 50 conferences. I hope you feel the same, and I hope you enjoy yourselves during this period for learning, for research, and for collaboration.
My presidentship from 1999 to 2002 was a time of break-off to new frontiers. We expanded LIBER all over Europe, especially with new members of the Central and Eastern European countries. And we tried to make the libraries to global information leaders, for example, through the development of new infrastructures for open access. Cooperation is the right way to reach these goals. So I wish the 50th LIBER Conference that it will be an important step into this direction.
Hello, my name's Peter Fox, and until I retired, I was the director of Cambridge University Library. I'm also a former General Secretary and Vice President of LIBER, and I'm delighted to send my congratulations for your 50th anniversary. I went to my first LIBER conference at Göttingen in 1994, before LIBER was even 25 years old, and I attended every conference from then until my retirement in 2009. Over the years, I've seen LIBER play an increasingly important role in promoting the collaboration of libraries across Europe, and as it's gradually become a more professionally managed organisation, its influence has grown. In 1994, there were fewer than 100 attenders at the conference, and the whole organisation was run by one person based at the Royal Library in Copenhagen. Now you have a whole secretariat and a correspondingly higher impact on the European library world. So I wish LIBER every success for your 2021 conference and for the next 50 years.
After 50 years of LIBER, we might ask ourselves whether it has been worth our efforts. What has changed thanks to LIBER? And although I can only testify about the last 25 years, I would like to point out at least two things that I believe to be important. The first thing is the role of the librarian. In the old days, what was a librarian? He was just the guardian of the collection, a kind of a mixture between a landlord and a policeman. Nowadays, what we see is that more and more the librarian is participating as an active partner both in the research and in the education of his institute. And that is quite a change. The second thing I would like to point out is our attitude about open access. Of course, in the beginning, it was the budget. The prices were increasing too much, and that was a problem. Nowadays, people are fighting for open access, not because of the money, but because they have a profound belief in the global right for everybody to have access and free access to the results of scientific research. And that is quite a much more dignified attitude. For these things and for so much more, congratulations, LIBER.
Thanks to all these fellow colleagues of LIBER, many of them spent a considerable part of their lifetime to be engaged in LIBER, and it's such a pleasure to see and hear them. And thanks really for your participation, all of you. I now give the floor to Julien Roche, the Vice President of LIBER and Chair of the Conference Program Committee, so he can give us some information about the work done by the committee for this year's conference. Julien, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeannette. May the moderator turn my camera on, please, because I cannot do it myself. Thank you very much. So, good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. I'm here in my capacity as chair of a conference program committee to give you a very short, a very brief overview of the making of the program itself. I would like to start by thanking first the CPC members, a bit more than 30 people who worked very hard this year to prepare the program you will see in the coming hours and in the coming days. Also the LIBER office working hard during all the year to make all the techniques take place and happen and to prepare all the session and manage everything. And of course the host from Belgrade, thanks to the support of the host of Belgrade, we are able to deliver, we hope this year, again, a very great conference. So we've been busy this year to prepare the scientific program. First, choosing the theme itself, libraries and open knowledge from vision to implementation. The different formats you can see there, presentations, posters, speed presentations, workshops, panel discussions, and so on. The schedule itself, and of course the conference agenda. We went for a very long and very strict process. We've been through a double-blind reviewing for all the papers, and we hope also that you will see this week very inspiring presentations, especially from keynote speakers. So here we are. You can see on the screen the different kind of presentations and the number of presentations that will be displayed during this week. We have selected 33 paper presentations, 8 posters, 5 speed presentations, 6 workshops. We have 2 panel discussions and 2 keynote speakers. So I hope you will enjoy this week. And I'm handing it over again to Jeannette for the next slide.
Thank you, Julien. Before we begin with the first keynote, okay. So here I am again. Before we begin with the first keynote, I'd like to thank here the LIBER sponsors. This year, our gold sponsor is Emerald Publishing, and our silver sponsors are EBSCO, Open Edition, Overleaf, Ex Libris, and Retro News. So thanks for the discussion. It's not only for the support as for the conference, but also the discussion we have with you, and the support, of course, you provide to organize this online conference. Please join the discussion during this conference. During breaks, go for a run. Astrid, the next slide. Yep. Go for a run, take a selfie, and post it on Twitter using the hashtag how to run a library or hashtag LIBER 2021. I'll let you take a screenshot so you have the hashtags ready. Live visual reports will be done as last year by the mighty Elko from Denkschetz from the Netherlands, and you will find the conference presentation as usually on Zenodo. So thank you all for participating. See and hear you all later. Hope this during this day and the next days. And I hand over to Julien for the introduction of the first session. Thank you.